Manufacturing became the second most targeted industry for cyber attacks, representing about 30% of all cyber incidents. 31% of manufacturers experience outages due to power, network, or other infrastructure failures, impacting their resilience and ability to produce. Leaning forward, manufacturing surveys demonstrate a change in strategy, with 87% of leaders accelerating or pursuing for the first time Industry 4.0 initiatives to deliver competitive advantage, grow revenue, or drive efficiencies. These facts illustrate a simple notion. Business is moving faster, but our underlying infrastructure is somewhat outdated. I find it humorous so much attention is spent on the exciting portion of industrial transformation. We sometimes forget about the basics, the foundational infrastructure. In addition to these points, we're also observing that while leaders are ready to invest in new technologies, they haven't adjusted their baseline or their historical expectations for the other foundational technologies that are required to deliver the future state. Let's face it, it's a lot more fun to experiment with IoT sensors, automation, deploying modern mobile devices like tablets, hands-free AR headsets, and tracking solutions. But we also need to be realistic. With leaders ready to invest in the next generation of innovative technologies, is your infrastructure ready? Is your infrastructure capable of the necessary security, the growth in the number of devices, the increased bandwidth requirements, and the diversity of the technologies they entail? Have you thought through your network architecture for the industrial space and how it's structured and converges legacy plants with the enterprise? How will you integrate resiliency, power, and recovery across this new endpoint portfolio? And does your infrastructure enable your stakeholders to more easily adapt and scale across the enterprise? No doubt, there's a lot more to consider in today's smart manufacturing environments. At Connection, our experience indicates most organizations are not prepared, and their next generation initiatives, largely driven by the line of business itself, are way out in front of the infrastructure. Wherever your particular organization exists, it's important that we start to think seriously about this resiliency, the reliability, the security, and how our infrastructure supports constant operations in next-gen tech. Unlike in the past, we're quickly becoming more dependent on this new technology, as well as the infrastructure it all rides upon. Of course, addressing industrial infrastructure is not a simple answer we can just solve here. There's a lot to consider when it comes to the next generation infrastructure, especially when we add in the idea of convergence, or formally connecting the industrial spaces with the balance of the enterprise. But let's take a few minutes here and let's cover a small number of topics we're personally excited about, and we're also seeing making a difference in the manufacturing sector. All right, the first of those is wireless. And wireless isn't new, but most manufacturers we observe undervalue their wireless infrastructure and access points. Historically, this makes complete sense. In the past, we had a limited number of devices requiring wireless. For example, supervisory devices, conference rooms, and common areas. Because of this, we had a limited number of APs in a typical factory, and they often served a very small portion of our day-to-day operations. If we fast forward to today, almost every device supports some form of wireless technologies, whether we talk about Wi-Fi 6 or Bluetooth Low Energy to Zigbee and more. So why does this matter now? Well, it matters because factories are adding sensors, phones, and terminals. They're adding digital signage, AVGs, and other cutting-edge technologies into the environment, an environment that was never plumbed for this explosion of devices and the technologies they require. Today's wireless access points, however, have built-in value adds, like BLE and Zigbee, for example. This means that when you upgrade your wireless, something we might have come to think about as a commodity in the network, don't just think about the few legacy devices we've traditionally connected to it. Think about the ability to integrate modern asset tracking, workplace safety, or return to office and workplace optimization, and general office management in the carpeted spaces, while also readying your stakeholders for what comes next in 6 to 12 months from now. Next-gen wireless networks are so much more today and can be the converged platform to drive significant process innovation, not just IT connectivity. All right, secondly, networking in general. Think switches, routers, and other networking appliances. And this topic varies by brand and models, but I'll tell you that networking hardware has evolved to become even more valuable, just like wireless. This is even more relevant when we start discussing network and security in the industrial space. Let's just explore this a little bit more closely. All right, first, many of the solutions now offer industrial device and protocol support. So gone are the days of industrial networks versus IT networks. Modern solutions allow us to handle both forms of traffic. They allow us to do things like deep packet inspection, logging integration with security operations centers and CMs, and virtual patching of industrial machines. These are game changers for converging OT with IT, delivering added security and protection to a wildly vulnerable environment, and unlocks factories and their employees to innovate, connect, and digitally integrate processes without these traditional boundaries. All right, another area in networks is power over Ethernet. While this isn't intended for every case given its power limitations, we are observing an explosion of DC powered devices from things like lights, terminals, PLCs, HMIs, kiosks, badges, authentication, sensors, all supporting PoE. And many of these devices today are coming with options to upgrade to PoE or DC power. So this allows us to combine factories that are constantly being adjusted, moved, or things added. And now PoE now allows your engineers to add things to the network and power them easily, all without the need for electricians or new power to be run to the device. It also means that PoE powered devices can have the same power backup your network enjoys. This creates a more resilient environment for the technologies your team relies upon, and it also simplifies deployment and management. All right, the third topic I want to cover is managed services. This is another area of growth for your consideration in your infrastructure strategies. Let's face it, we're not always the best at everything in IT, and that's okay. Recognizing this is very important. It allows leaders to focus on what matters most for the company and its objectives. And it also allows us to augment our resource or skills gaps with things like managed services that still deliver on our infrastructure goals. For many, it's also a chance to deliver better outcomes for your stakeholders and possibly recoup some lost credibility. Let's go over an example. For so many, cybersecurity events are taking place in manufacturing at an accelerated rate. Think ransomware. You may consider outsourcing backup, disaster recovery, logging, and monitoring to a trusted and competent managed service provider who specializes in these capabilities. So with so many options from service desk to offerings like backup as a service, disaster recovery as a service, security operations center as a service, your organization has many options to get infrastructure done. Whatever the case, leaders want results, and you have a budget. So use it wisely based on your workforce and consider the managed services as one other avenue to get more done. While these are just a few areas of important and changing infrastructure considerations, there are many other infrastructure solutions that can help manufacturing business become smarter and more effective. It's definitely an exciting time in our trade, and I look forward to talking more on these subjects in the future. And if you're looking for a partner to help with all this change, at Connection, we understand that manufacturing is rapidly changing how it manages its business, along with a diverse range of new technologies. We work with manufacturing clients on a regular basis, allowing us to combine our deep technology and our manufacturing expertise together to bring you awareness or education on new technologies. And so, whether you're looking at your next infrastructure upgrade, allow us to partner with you to give you a different perspective, so that not only can you invest in modern IT technologies, but also technologies that unlock innovation for your factory and your line leaders. If you enjoyed this content, check out our online blogs to go deeper into some of these topics. Or if you'd like to discuss this topic in more detail with our experts, reach out to your account executive so we can discuss your goals around industrial infrastructure and security. Take care.